Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the ultimate toolkit, one that's specifically designed to upgrade your brain from relying on simple memorization to engaging in dynamic expert thinking. You know, if you've ever felt like you're just cramming information without truly absorbing it, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it.
So, think about this for a second. How do you actually escape the trap of rote memorization? Try framing your learning journey like an escape room puzzle. You know you can't just repeat random facts to unlock the door, right? You absolutely need active comprehension to figure out the underlying mechanisms and actually break free. Memorization literally traps you in that room, but expert thinking, that hands you the key.
Here's our quick agenda for today. First, we'll look at unlocking expert thinking, then finding the 20% core, mapping and testing knowledge, teaming up to learn, and finally, tracking your growth.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, unlocking expert thinking and moving beyond simple memorization.
Our ultimate goal here is active comprehension. Basically, this means developing a deep, genuine understanding and the self-assurance that comes with it rather than just relying on rote memorization. See, efficient learning really kicks in when we stop treating our brains like hard drives that just blindly store files and start treating them like dynamic processors that truly understand the data coming in.
Moving on to Section 2, finding the 20% core, which is the key to unlocking broader knowledge.
Imagine any subject as a whole pie. Now, there's a dense, foundational 20% slice that makes up the core concepts. The remaining 80%, that represents broader knowledge. The master key to accelerated learning is pinpointing that 20% core. We're talking about the absolute most crucial concepts. Once you grasp that heavy core, it naturally unlocks the rest of that broader knowledge. So the big takeaway here is you don't have to learn everything equally, you just have to identify and deeply learn the core.
Okay, Section 3, mapping and testing knowledge and actively building your understanding.
To actually build that understanding, we're going to use the Feynman technique. It's a real game changer and it involves two simple steps. Step 1, simplify complex ideas. And Step 2, reveal your comprehension gaps. You see, by forcing yourself to explain a really complex concept in the absolute simplest terms possible, you instantly reveal exactly where your comprehension gaps are hiding. If you stumble, or, if you find yourself relying on confusing jargon, well, that's your gap right there. You found it, and now you can go back and fix it.
Now think of expert thinking as a bridge. It connects brand new information directly over to your existing real-world knowledge. You aren't just learning a new fact in a vacuum. You're tying it directly to a real-world example you already understand. Doing this creates what we call a mental model map. And trust me, this approach is vastly stronger and way more resilient than isolated memorization could ever be.
Which brings us to Section 4, teaming up to learn, or as I like to call it, the ultimate multiplier, collaboration.
Individual tools are fantastic, for sure, but there's an ultimate multiplier that drastically speeds up this entire learning process. As Captain Spark puts it, did you know that collaboration aids learning? When you work with others, you learn so much more than just trying to figure everything out by yourself. And it's so true. Dynamic teams work incredibly well precisely because everyone brings completely different ideas, unique perspectives, and varying strengths to the table. Learning simply doesn't have to be this solo, isolated struggle.
Small group work actually brings some massive benefits. First off, it provides just-in-time support. Basically, a peer might explain a roadblock perfectly right when you need it most. Second, it really solidifies understanding for advanced learners. Third, it fosters a joyful, relaxed, and engaging learning environment. And finally, it develops absolutely critical communication, perseverance, and problem-solving skills. Honestly, cooperation is vastly more effective than competition. It generates positive emotions that drastically improve your overall learning outcomes.
And here's where it all connects. Explaining ideas to peers puts the Feynman test into action. When you turn to a teammate and try to explain a difficult concept, you're actively putting that technique into practice in real time. If they don't get it, well, you instantly know your explanation, and maybe even your own underlying understanding, needs just a bit more refinement.
Plus, hearing different mental model maps from your classmates strengthens your own understanding. Think about it. When someone else connects new information to a completely different real-world scenario than you did, your brain gets to build a second bridge. Teamwork directly strengthens your own multidimensional grasp of the subject because you literally get to borrow the mental maps of the people around you.
All right, on to our final section, Section 5, tracking your growth and reflecting on the journey. A growth tracker is essentially a tool used for reflective practice. It helps you monitor your learning progress and build self-assurance. And let me tell you, this is an absolutely essential method. By actively tracking your growth, you're proving to yourself that you are successfully making that transition from a simple memorizer to a genuine expert thinker. It builds that profound self-assurance you need to confidently tackle your next big challenge.
To wrap things up, I really want you to think deeply about this final question. How much faster could you solve your biggest challenges if you didn't have to do it alone? So, my mission for you today is this. Lean into your next opportunity for group work. Try applying that 20% rule, use the Feynman test on a peer, and actively share your mental models. The true power of shared knowledge is just waiting to be unlocked. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep exploring.